Mahatma Gandhi. In South Africa, where Gandhi experienced racial prejudice against Indians and began his work in civil rights. Once back in India, Gandhi led the fight for Indian independence from the British Empire. He organized non-violent civil disobedience campaigns. Gandhi was put in prison several times for organizing these protests. He would often fast while he was in prison. One of Gandhi's most successful protests was called the South March. When Britain put attacks on the South, Gandhi decided to walk 241 miles to the Sea of Dandi to make his own South. Thousands of Indians joined him in his march. Gandhi also fought for civil rights and liberties among Indian people. Gandhi was assassinated on January 30 of 1948. He was shot at a prayer meeting by a terrorist. Britain control over India. The rule of the British India is possibly one of the most controversial and most hotly debated aspects of the history of the British Empire. Admirers of British rule point to the economic developments, the legal and administrative system, the fact that India became the center of world politics. Critics of British rule generally point out that all these benefits went to a teeny British ruling class and the majority of Indians gained a little. Admirers of British rule counter this by saying that most Indians were poor and oppressed by their own leaders before the British arrived, and the British rule was less harsh on ordinary Indians than ruled by Indian princes. The British were able to take control of India mainly because India was not united. The British signed treaties and made military training alliances with many of the independent states that made up India. The British were effective at infiltrating these states and gradually taking control. Independence of India. Early in 1947, Attlee announced that Britain would leave India no later than June of 1948. A new viceroy was appointed, Lord Mountbatten, and she concluded that the peace could only be achieved if partition was introduced. The Hindu Congress agreed with him. Mountbatten became convinced that any delay would increase violence, and he pushed forward the date to Britain leaving India to August of 1947. In August of 1947, the Indian Independence Act was signed. This separated the Muslim-majority areas from India to create the independent state of Pakistan. This new state was split in two, the two parts being 1,000 miles away. The act was not easy to put in action. Progress of the country. 65 years ago, India's post-independence democracy constitution went into effect, paving the way from the country to become not only a democratic, but the world's largest democracy. Today, as a country of well over a billion people composing great diversity of ethnicity and economic status of spanning crowded cities and remote villages, India is a paradigm of both and the challenges and the successes of building a government that seeks to empower all its people. As the U.S. government development finance institution, OPIC, has invested nearly $2.7 billion across 148 development projects in India since 1974, over the past 5 years, our portfolio in India has increased more than fivefold to $734.3 million. Much of OPIC's recent work in India with our private sector partners has been aimed at the country's extensive rural population that lives without some of the essentials of modern life, like clean water, access to financial services, or basic whitening to enable their children to study or keep their shops open after dark. Since the mid-1980s, India has slowly opened up its market through economic liberalization. After more fundamental reforms since 1981 and the renewal in the 2000, India has progressed toward a free market economy. The economic growth has been driven by the expansion of services that have been growing constantly faster than other factors.
Created using Powtoon.